All right, thank you everyone for joining me for these live internet studies. As I mentioned during the prayer, my name is Ariel, ben-Lyman HaNaviy, and this is segment 1, a 30-minute segment of 2 hour-long studies. You're welcome to join us via Skype. If you're live, if you're listening to this live right now, go over to my website at tetzetorah.com and click on the banner right at the very, very top that says Live Internet Studies. And then scroll down a bit into the page and click on the blue banner that says Skype, and it'll launch Skype in your browser if you're using a desktop or laptop computer. Jump into the live study with us right now. That would be great. Otherwise, if you're listening to this recording after the fact, uploaded to YouTube or an iTunes podcast or something like that, well then, now you know for next time, okay? Speaking of next time, today is, according to this recording, is December 17th, 2022. It's Saturday evening, late afternoon. 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. is when we meet, and we are meeting tonight, obviously, but we're not meeting next week. Let me just pull up a calendar real quick to show you. We are not meeting on December the 24th, because that's the, we'll be well into Hanukkah by then, but it's also Christmas Eve. And then we're not meeting on the December 31st, which is the final day of the new year. Obviously that's New Year's Eve, so I don't want you having to take your time away from your family and your friends to meet with me. Go ahead and take a break. We'll consider this like a 2-week vacation, and then we'll be fresh and ready to jump into the brand new year 2023, January 7th live study, and we have brand new topics that we're going to be in fact, depending on what logistics work themselves out, we're either going to be embarking on a topic of looking at Tim Hegg's Fellow Heirs book, which is a great topic to research or to study through. I can promise you that. Or we will be going through one of my own studies that I've written on my commentary on my website, and we'll be creating a study out of that. I'm planning on embarking on the new, we're going to be refuting biblical Unitarianism. They have a website, biblicalunitarianism.org, I believe it's called, and they have verses that supposedly refute Trinitarian theology. And so I'd like to go through all those verses and refute their refutation of refuting Trinitarian theology. So we'll see how that goes. All that's for next year, so that's kind of like a preview, or I mean an advertisement to come and join the live studies and keep going with us into the new year. All right, let's jump into the night study. Segment 1 is was a study on Matthew 9:14 through 17, and as you know, last week we have basically wrapped up the entire official live study, the official version that's written on my website, which you can find again at tetzetorah.com. If you look on your screen now, I just have the verse, the passage list showing out of the ESV where we actually took the study from, and there's nothing really in there that talks about Jesus replacing the old system with the new system. But if you go and read various commentaries and Bible thoughts and interpretations of the passage, you'll find that many Christian, in fact, as far as I can survey, most Christian interpretations of this passage give something along lines of this is the parables indicate that Jesus is bringing something radically new that's incompatible with the old. So we titled the study, "Are Judaism and Christianity Incompatible with One Another?" You can see on my screen now, this is actually the written study that I wrote. It's available on my website. All right, an examination of Matthew 9:14 through 17. Are Judaism and Christianity incompatible with one another? And we determined that the answer to the question is no, they're not incompatible with one another. Right, real simple. And basically, it was a study about replacement theology. And you're not familiar with what replacement theology is. It's basically a system of thought in Christian circles that purports the idea that Jesus has come to replace the old system of Judaism and the law of Moses with a new system of the law of Christ and new covenant. And so it gives rise to this idea that in Christianity, it's popular to teach that we're no longer under the law of Moses, we're under the law of Christ. We're not obligated to keep the law of Moses. It's been done away with. It's been fulfilled. It's been relaxed. It's been set aside. It's been relegated to a different dispensation or something to that effect. We're no longer under the old covenant, we're under the new covenant, etc., etc. So those are the topics that we talked about in the study. What I want to do tonight is kind of just have open discussion, dialogue. If I get enough people that jump into the live study, I'll actually even open up the microphones and go in that direction. But until then, it'll be a monologue from me. And what I want to talk about is I want to borrow some notes from Dr. David Stearns, the late Dr. Stearns' Messianic Jewish Manifesto. I'll flash a little picture of his book on the screen for you right now, bright red cover. And he's got some notes in there I think that were relevant. Mostly the book was written to Messianic Jews to kind of rally them into action. Dr. Stern is a Messianic Jew, was a Messianic Jew. I say was since he just passed away this year, just maybe a few months ago. He died a believing Jew, so don't misunderstand what I'm saying when I say he was a Messianic Jew. I'm saying that he is a Jew who believes in Jesus, but also believes that the Torah is relevant for not just for Jewish people, but for Gentiles. And so if you pick up any of his Bibles, like Complete Jewish Bible or Jewish New Testament, or his commentary, Jewish New Testament commentary, or the Messianic Jewish Manifesto book that we're going to be looking at, you're going to walk away with the perspective that he believes, first and foremost, that the Bible, from cover to cover, from Genesis to Revelation, is a book for Jews. It was written by Jews, it was written for Jews, and its central figure is a Jew. That just makes common sense. But he also challenges Gentile Christians to understand that Messianic Judaism has a place at the table and that brings something valuable to offer when it comes to talking about this idea of, is the law of God still relevant for Gentile Christians? He's going to say, yes, it is. And you don't have to convert to Judaism to follow it. You don't have to become a Jew, that is to say, to follow after the Torah. And I realize that, and he does, that there are a lot of objections to bringing in a Messianic Judaism in alongside of historic Christianity. But let's talk about some of those objections and challenges. I have a book notes version of his Messianic Jewish Manifesto that I created quite some time ago, almost 20 years ago, and it was with the purpose of kind of skimming through the book and lifting significant quotes for the purpose of an academic study. And so now let me borrow some of those notes. It's not they are lifted quotes from the book, but I'm not just going to read the whole book. Instead, I'll just read certain segments. So if you look on my screen right now, on page 13. He has a paragraph entitled, and this is in chapter 2, entitled Identity. He has a paragraph heading entitled Gentile Christian Opposition. And so it's common in my line of work to run into Gentile Christians who are opposed to any type of either Messianic Judaism being purported or particularly talking about, should we be keeping the Torah as Christians?